It's not about the dollars, but it's what the dollars represent, are the words Kirk Cousins said in his locker room press conference following the Minnesota Vikings season to a bunch of reporters. And everyone is discussing what Kirk Cousins means by these comments because this is what athletes love to do. They love to come up with these comments where they think they're outsmarting the media. They love to come out with these comments to get reporters guessing, to get the team guessing. They love to send out these signals into the stratosphere. Oh, what does Kirk Cousins mean? What does LeBron James mean by these comments? Oh, does this mean he doesn't want to be a part of the Vikings? Does this mean he wants to be the best quarterback in the NFL? It generates conversation because athletes think there's some psychologists out there. They think they're geniuses. They think that they just like to outsmart people. And that's what Kirk Cousins did in this situation. And I read the story. He heard this from one of his fellow co-workers on the Washington Redskins at the time. And he's like, I'll never forget that. And I'm pro Kirk Cousins. I'm a big Kirk Cousins fan. I believe he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I, too, am going to discuss what Kirk Cousins means by these comments. It's not about the dollars, but it's what about the dollars represent. And I just want to first say that what the dollars represent and the dollar amount, those two things go hand in hand. Okay? If you want what the dollars represent to be respectful, well, then the dollar amount has to be a lot. Okay? It can't be this average $20 million contract for a quarterback. That's not going to suffice for Kirk Cousins. So this idea that it's not about the dollars, but it's what about the dollars represent. If the Minnesota Vikings offer Kirk Cousins $38 million a year. I saw this published by CBS or whatever. It's like a projection. 2-year, $38 million contract. That's $76 million over 2 years. Well, if Kirk Cousins likes that deal, it's because the amount offered represented a number that Kirk Cousins thought was respectful. So these things go hand in hand. All right. Kirk Cousins wants a fair, big contract for a quarterback. Now, I don't think Kirk Cousins is saying, make me the highest paid player at my position in the NFL, but he's also not saying, offer me $25 million a year, make that $25 million guaranteed, and I'll take it. More conversation that's happening is, will Kirk Cousins take a hometown discount? And this is the dumbest conversation I think there is in sports. Maybe Kirk Cousins will take a discount so that the Vikings can build around their roster. A couple $1 million. But why would Kirk Cousins take $10 million less? Because who knows what's going to happen next season. Plus, why is it called a hometown discount when Kirk Cousins is not from Minnesota? Can we call it something else? Call it a roster executed discount. Because people love the phrase hometown discount. He did it to stay in Minnesota. We Minnesotans love this idea of staying in Minnesota for less money because you like it here. You really, really like us. But Kirk Cousins isn't from Minnesota. Who knows if he'll even live in Minnesota after his career is over, because he has a house in Michigan, and that's where he's from. That's probably where his family lives. Hometown discount. Get out of here with that crap. But will Kirk Cousins take a little less to stay with the Minnesota Vikings? Now, I looked it up. He is the 15th quarterback in the NFL right now or last season based on salary. And some of the guys ahead of him, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, two quarterbacks that Kirk Cousins is head and shoulders above. And Derek Carr is set to make $37 million. Daniel Jones set to make $40 million. And if Kirk Cousins takes $38, $39 million, he's right around those guys. But you better believe that Kirk is aware of what these guys are making. He is aware, and so is his agent, aware of what the market is for NFL quarterbacks that are in the top 10 of the league. You look at Deshaun Watson, $46 million a year. Total value, $230 million. Kirk is going to get his worth, whether it's with the Minnesota Vikings or with another team. Kirk is not going to take less than what his contract is right now. I bet you that. Maybe he'll take 38, but he's not going below 35. He's probably not going below 36 or 37. Kirk saw how valuable, and more importantly, his agent saw how valuable he was to the Minnesota Vikings organization when he went down with an injury. There might have been a game or two where Kirk was a little worried, particularly his agent, a little worried about his worth to the Vikings and to the NFL after Josh Dobbs mania was going crazy there for 2 weeks. But then as soon as the Vikings ship sank, Kirk's agent, Kirk himself, had big grins on their face because it means they're about to cash in on the cash money. As Randy Moss once said, straight cash, homie. That's what Kirk Cousins wants, and he'll get that from the Minnesota Vikings. So, Kirk, don't come out of your press conferences and say it's not about the dollars, but it's about what the dollars represent. Those things are the same thing. You want respect. You want to be treated nicely by the Vikings organization. And what do you want in return? You want guaranteed money. That's what you want. What the dollars represent is the same as the dollar amount. Quit trying to pretend you're smarter than the rest of us. We know what that means. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Minnesota Tim Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate, review, and follow the podcast wherever you are listening to this podcast. Everyone take care and have a great day.